Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Low Budget Review Show. I am your host, Eric Smith, and today I am talking about August's Eyes by Glenn Rolfe. This is his latest, and it is from Flame Tree Press. It is very orange on that cover when the past leaks out of dreams. So in this book, we've got a cold open where, as I like to call it, prologue, they're called in the books. I really want someone to write a book and call their prologue a cold open. So we're back in the past, 1994, I think, with Johnny and Ethan gets kidnapped. Johnny witnesses it, but he gets away. Then we jump to today, and John is still living in the same town, Spears Corners? Either way. And he's married, and he's working as a social worker, and he's having these really crazy dreams with, he's in a place called Graveyard Land, and there's a kid he calls One Eye, or called One Eye, because he's got one eye. And then there's August, who has no eyes, and a messed up hand, and weird shoulders and stuff. And it's really crazy and spooky, and it's bothering him. And yeah, so that's the setup. So let's see. So John, his wife says, hey, why don't you go to see that therapist that I was seeing? Talk to him about your dreams. And there's some dynamics, marital dynamics going on between John and his wife, Sarah. And there's this kid, Pat. He's 15. He's trying to start a landscaping business. And there's this creepy green van that seems to be following him around. And there's some flashbacks to a child molesting serial killer. And this is all thrown in together into this book. And, we kind of know what's going on, what's behind these dreams, but it's all building to something. So right off the bat, Glenn Rolfe, great writer. Writes great characters, and John is a flawed person, but he's a great character. He's trying to be a good person. He loves his wife. She loves him. They have a great relationship, but there are some problems. The main one being that they've been unable to have children. And, well, I'll leave it at that. That's a problem that comes up. It's a big part of the story. Pat is actually one of a client of John in his social work. Pat's family, basically. It's Pat, his mom, and his little sister. And I love the way Glenn writes. I almost said John. I love the way Glenn writes characters. I love the dynamic between Pat and his mother, and especially his little sister. Little sister is so cute when she's talking to Patty, as she calls him with D's, Paddy. So I really enjoy that. I enjoy the interactions with John and Pat, John and his wife. And I always hate to say this. I don't know how authors feel about being compared to other authors. I suppose if it's in a good way, they shouldn't mind, but I understand that every author is his or her own person. But I couldn't get away from the feeling of Stephen King. This is a small town setting. You've got there's a lot of creepiness, a lot of tension, a lot of suspense, a lot of building up to this huge ending. But there's so many just character moments. And Glenn is great at those character moments. I just had this Stephen King, small town, great characters, slowly building tension kind of feeling. I would think no one's going to mind being compared to Stephen King. But I generally prefer to just, just talk about the author themselves and the work itself. But I couldn't get away from that feeling. And again, who's gonna mind? Terrific writing. I think I gave it a 4 on Goodreads because I couldn't give it a 4.5. Or did I end up giving it a 5? I don't know. I really should check these things before I either check it before I record my review or don't bother mentioning what I gave it because I can't remember. But yeah, I'm not sure what else to say. Man, these reviews are getting shorter and shorter. Graveyard Land, again, that gave me a feeling of Nosferatu with Christmas Land, I think is what it was called. The King family, Stephen King and Joe Hill, seem to like that kind of thing. But it works here. It's an interesting, spooky place that John visits in his dreams. But it seems to be, as it says, when the past leaks out of dreams, there it is. It seems to be leaking into the real world. What do these dreams have to do with anything? What does John's past have to do with anything? With what's going on today? How does it involve Pat and John's wife and the town itself? Yeah, this is another. It's a compelling read. I didn't want to put it down. I wanted to keep reading. As always, I think I said this in my last video. Stupid day job, stupid sleep, and other things getting in the way of my reading. But it's possibly. There's a couple Glenn Rolfe books I haven't read yet, but possibly his best yet. At least of the ones I've read. And I like everything I've read from Mr. Rolfe. But this one, really, really good. Yeah, it's. I think this could be a classic. Yeah. I don't know that I have anything else to say about it. So, there you go. That's August's Eyes. I always want to just say August Eyes, but it's August's Eyes by Glenn Rolfe. Only came out a few weeks ago as of this recording, maybe a month ago at this point. Glenn did some live readings, which were really, really good, really fun. They were on Facebook. I think they might have been on Instagram as well, but I got to attend a few. And, so he's reading in the video and you can comment in the comment section. And that, it was nice to get a sense. He just read the first few chapters. They're pretty short. And it doesn't, that early in the book, nothing's being given away. So it was kind of cool to listen to him read it. And then I read them myself, obviously. But definitely highly, highly recommended. If you're going to read anything by Glenn, grab this one. I mean, you should be reading his other stuff. It's good. But definitely pick this up and read it. Let's see. As for a question, how do you feel when you're reading, or you think you're reading, let's say a straight up serial killer story, or whatever, straight up suspense, and the supernatural bleeds into it? That's not exactly the case here. I think the supernatural element is pretty upfront. But there are books that it feels like you're just reading, say, Silence of the Lambs, and then all of a sudden there's some sort of supernatural shenanigans going on. What do you think about that? Does it bother you that what you thought you were reading isn't what you were actually reading? I have to say, if it's done well, I like it. I of course like being taken by surprise. Um, I think it would have been great. I've probably mentioned this before. From Dusk Till Dawn, if that had simply been advertised as a Quentin Tarantino written, Robert Rodriguez directed crime movie, and then, spoilers for an old movie, halfway through it turns into a vampire horror film, but it was never advertised that way. You just thought you were going in. I would have loved that. Now, I could see how that would piss some people off. I would have loved it. It would have blown my mind, but it was advertised with the vampires and everything. So, as long as it's done well, if I'm reading something and I think it's this, I think it's A, and all of a sudden it becomes B, hell yeah. Throw me for a loop. That's what I want. What do you think? Do you want your books to be straightforward? What you're expecting? How do you feel when there's a huge... And I'm not talking about just like some twist ending. I'm talking about something that changes the entire... Although some twist endings do that. But change what you think it is. Does that make sense? I don't know. Let's talk about it in the comments below. Now, if you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put them in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post a spoiler warning. We try to be polite here at the Low Budget Review Show. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd care to follow me on other social media, my Twitter is @Ronin5757. My Instagram, where I post pictures of books, comic books, board games, and fuzzy animals, is EricSmith5757. That's Eric with a K, ERIKSMITH 5757. That's all I've got for you. This has been the Low Budget Review Show. I have been Eric Smith, and until next time, read more books.